got Rotus. Rotus, go straight to it.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Vimbai, Rufai, and good morning to Ayo as well. Good morning. Yeah, I love the rhyme. You guys know I love rap music. Good morning to our viewers as well. We're going to jump right into Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and transparency. Here's Elon Musk in the White House, in the Oval Office with his hats, talking about, and his child, his very cute son, talking about transparency at D.O.G.E. Take a look.
A contract with some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself, for instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts when it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president I know has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately.
Including you yourself.
Yes. But transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on. And then you can see, am I doing something that benefits one of my companies or not? It's totally obvious.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area if we thought there was a lack of transparency or a conflict of interest. And we watched that also. He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this. We don't want an unsuccessful guy doing this.
Now, here's the thing. There's a financial disclosure that Musk has not put forward yet, right? Now, by law, he doesn't have to do that. But the issue here is that he has to put forward a financial disclosure as an unpaid special employee of the U.S. federal government. So how it works is that if you're an unpaid special employee of the U.S. federal government, there's a law that says that basically you cannot engage in activities that benefit you or your family directly. Now, there's special situations where the government can provide an ethics waiver, and apparently he's gone through ethics training. But the ethics waiver is supposed to be disclosed to the public. And by taking a look at the waiver, the structure of the ethics waiver will give you an indication of what conflicts of interest exist. As you heard that journalist asking me, and he has billions of contracts with the Pentagon for SpaceX, for instance. The New York Times reached out to the White House and asked them for the waiver under Freedom of Information. They have not provided it. And there he is talking about transparency. Meanwhile, Tesla shares fell about 6% yesterday. Remember we talked about BYD. BYD has put forward a new autopilot that is free. Tesla has FSD, full self-driving. You have to actually subscribe to it. So it's a revenue generator for them. So with BYD bringing out the same product for free, it now impacts it. Over the last 5 trading days, Tesla is down 16%. The OpenAI thing, D.O.G.E, investors are now worried that Elon Musk is not as focused as he should be. Speaking of OpenAI, Sam Altman, things have gotten really personal between the two of them. He was speaking to Bloomberg News. He basically said that Elon Musk is not a happy person and he feels sad for him, basically saying that OpenAI is not for sale.
OpenAI is not for sale. The OpenAI mission is not for sale. Elon tries all sorts of things for a long time. This is this week's episode.
You take it seriously at all? What do you think he's trying to drive at with this?
I think he's probably just trying to slow us down. He obviously is a competitor. He's working hard and has raised a lot of money for XAI, and they're trying to compete with us from a technological perspective, from getting the product into the market. And I wish he would just compete by building a better product, but I think there's been a lot of tactics, many lawsuits, all sorts of other crazy stuff. Now this. And we'll try to just put our head down and keep working.
Do you think Musk's approach then is from a position of insecurity about XAI?
Probably his whole life is from a position of insecurity. I feel for the guy.
You feel for him?
I do, actually. I don't think he's like a happy person. I do feel for him.
All right, another big story from yesterday. I mean, this has been talked about everywhere. Donald Trump has signed an executive order that basically loosens the FCPA. This is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. This thing is wild. And Rufai, we're going to back and forth on corruption, but you and I always agree on Trump. But when we get to the other president with a T, we don't agree on much. But here's the thing here. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act was enacted in 1977 during the Jimmy Carter administration. Carter, by the way, also gave us the Department of Education, which Trump is also trying to dismantle. it basically curbs U.S. companies from bribing foreign governments when they go to do business, when they're building infrastructure, rail, whatever you want to pick. The Justice Department under Bodie, who is just, I think she's going to be confirmed, Pam Bodie, has been instructed by Trump to pause all current investigations and prosecutions of U.S. companies that have been accused of bribing foreign governments in order to win business.
Including that of the mayor of New York?
Yeah, they've dropped that one as well, right? Now, here's an example. Walmart. Walmart is an example of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Walmart in 2012 was accused of bribing a number of nations, and they paid it. It took 7 years for the investigation to be concluded. They basically paid a $282 million fine, part of it to the Securities and Exchange Commission and parts of it to the Department of Justice. Walmart bribed governments in India, in Mexico, in Brazil, and in China. And this was the outcome of that investigation. It takes a long time because it's happening overseas and it takes a while. But, there's one side of this conversation, right? And then there's another side. This is where me and Rufai are always going back and forth about corruption around the world. I want you to take a look into a CNBC contributor that was watching this segment. Please listen to 4 key things: Germany, China, Africa, and U.S. businesses. Take a listen to this and please pay attention.
So when they passed this law, it was controversial for the very reasons that Eamon talked about, where a lot of business executives said it's going to make us uncompetitive overseas because a lot of countries actually pay bribes. In Germany, it was legal until 1999 to list bribes on your expense reports and make them tax deductible. Wow. Okay, so the biggest issue, and I think why it's really coming to a head now, is because in places like Africa, where we're trying to secure critical materials, the supply chain for critical materials, American companies won't go there because there's so much corruption in Africa, but China has gone there. And they have managed to control the entire supply chain. And so when companies won't go there because they're worried about getting prosecuted, you actually end up ceding that ground to other countries.
So, this brings up the Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria that is rebasing GDP and wants to include illicit activities. It brings up, my forever debate with Rufai that, look, corruption is everywhere. For Germany, until 1999, just 25 years ago, including bribes, German businesses could include, and I looked it up, it's correct, you could include a bribe to a foreign government as an expense and get a tax rebate back from the government. It just shows that this is just, India is the 5th largest economy in the world. Mexico is the 11th. Brazil is the 10th. These are all it's everywhere. But moving aside, let's get to Nigeria now.
Did I say corruption was not?
No, I didn't say that. Now, what I'm saying is that it is everywhere. It is everywhere, and acting like it's a silver bullet that will push Nigeria to top 3 economy is not going to get there. But let's get to UCH. I really want to round off with the teaching hospital and the debts, right? So I enjoyed your conversation yesterday, but I feel that, a lot has been said about the discourse. This debt is 6 years old. It goes back to before the COVID. BC used to be before Christ. BC is now before COVID, right? It goes back to the COVID, the pandemic, right? Take a look at some excerpts on this article in Business Day. It says, according to the release obtained by Business Day, this drastic measure, that is cutting them off, comes after exhaustive attempts to engage with the hospital's management regarding the substantial overdue balance, we underlined it, which has persisted for 6 years. The circle there is, quotes, despite numerous written correspondences and multiple meetings, UCH management has displayed an uncooperative attitude towards addressing the outstanding debt. This is Johnson Tunoye, Chief Key Accounts Officer for Ibadan Disco. This was in March of 2024. At the bottom there, it says IBEDC's fiduciary responsibility to its stakeholders and market operators necessitates timely and complete remittances, especially considering the liquidity crisis facing discos. A second excerpt from this article says, it is worth noting, and I've tried to make this point to people that use generators. It's worth noting that UCH operates more than 70 diesel generating sets, consuming diesel at 1,600 naira per litre. Again, this is March of 2024. When you do the calculations based on the output of the generator, this means they generate energy at 400 naira per kilowatt, significantly higher than the tariff of 74 naira per kilowatt hour that IBEDC sells to usage. And anyone that is using a generator, convert from kVAs to kWh, kilowatt per hour, then divide by how much you spent on diesel, you will get your output. Using generators in Nigeria is significantly higher than what is being charged for Band A. The numbers are there, do your calculation. In addition, IBEDC has provided, this is very important, in addition at the bottom there, IBEDC has provided infrastructure to ensure 20 to 24 hours of dedicated supply to UCH, yet they have refused to settle their outstanding debt or propose a workable repayment plan. Finally, the last excerpt here, it is also pertinent to highlight that UCH is not the only teaching hospital within IBEDC's franchise. Teaching hospitals in Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Osun State, University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital, Kwara State, and others in Ogun State promptly settled their bills. IBEDC questions why UCH differs in this regard. The company emphasizes the necessity of adhering to payment obligations, particularly amidst challenging economic conditions, while recognizing the crucial role hospitals play. Final point, it is not there's a value chain here. We all know at least one Nigerian that is paying PHCN officials to bypass their electricity so they don't have to pay bills. This value chain and the issue of accountability and the issue of electricity supply goes both ways. It is not enough to just be saying and we need the leadership of UCH to come on air and tell us why they haven't looked at renewable energy, which was suggested by the DISCO system as well.
You see, after the end of the day, you still came back to our points.
Yeah.
Number one, which is that corruption ruins things, because now you have said, probably if there's no payment, what are they doing? So we have to investigate what they spend with the money. Secondly, how corruption also ruins things is the fact that, when people don't pay money they're supposed to pay for contracts, you have a leaner part of the budget, and when you have a leaner budget, you can't do a lot. So I'll give you an instance. You're asking why is UCH not paying? I'm not making briefs for UCH. But do you know that the Minister of Health, Patty, said out of the over 200 billion for capital projects in the healthcare sector, ask me how much was given that he received to do the capital projects. Ask me how much.
How much?
23 billion out of over 230 billion. So you can see funding is also an issue. So it's not today they've been complaining. And that report also, I challenged that report that said UCH is, I'm not sure UCH run their 74 generators every time at 1,600 diesel. Right. Because if they did, people would not be protesting about the light. So able to run the generator is a problem. Did you hear the story of people, individuals carrying their own generator to hospital to power things? So it shows how lackluster the system is. And Rotus, let's talk this about. As regards corruption in the grand scheme of things, it's been there in the world. Yeah. So Trump putting that bill in place, it also pulls on America's perceived transparency, because it shows they are not transparent. In fact, let me dial you back. Can Trump come and tell us how much he got in tax breaks through his lawyer Roy Cohn when he was bringing Trump Towers?
Perfect question.
Over $20 million as at them. So when Trump says he's draining the swamp, he himself is the swamp. He's part of those that have rigged the American system to his favor all this while. So when Elon Musk is saying he's using Big Ball and all his friends to do D.O.G.E, all these 19-year-old boys to do D.O.G.E, they're part of those that have ruined the system. The same Elon Musk collects a lot of contracts from government. You're talking about conflict of interest, isn't it? Yeah. And you're saying you are cutting, you are freezing. Also, Elon Musk that still keep a South African nationality has access to sensitive documents of the American government. Today, I tell you something. You think all of those information he's purging out of USAID and all those departments, you think he's not keeping copies for himself? America is toast as we speak today with the kind of information Elon Musk has. And that's why people are shouting. Yeah. So bring it on. You voted Trump. Enjoy yourself.
All right. Okay. So let me stay back home. They have lights in America. Let's talk about power in Nigeria. Let me just set some things straight in terms of the UCH. First of all, let me say some good news. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabo, has brokered peace between IBEDC and UCH, and they've agreed that they've said the total debt is actually 238 million according to this meeting, and so they're going to pay it in installments for the next 8 to 10 months. So UCH, thankfully, the advocacy has worked. But they also mentioned reasons why this happened, Rotus. And while I agree with you in terms of IBEDC is a business and they have to run for profit, I made that point yesterday that they were justified, at least to a very large extent. What we're questioning was who was responsible for paying the bills and why didn't they pay the bills? Some of the things they mentioned, which you've cited, is sharp practices. This bypassing and no no metering as well. So whose responsibility is that to meter? At least they say they're going to 50 meters. And then they talk about how other federal universities have been able to manage this issue, that they have mini solar grids. And as a result of this, they're going to put 50 mini solar grids in UCH. So this unfortunate incident is now making some people sit up. However, I do think some people should have taken a fall for this irresponsibility and national embarrassment, whereby a premier hospital like UCH was without light for 100 days. Not IBEDC, government agencies, some of the university leaders ought to be brought to question, not just say, we're going to solve this. Who were the people responsible and why were these debts not paid for over this period?
All right, very quickly, I'll summarize my thoughts, is when you look at what's happening in the United States right now with Donald Trump, especially pertaining to Elon Musk, for me, I see the positive side of it because I feel that a lot of this has been happening, but it's been happening covertly. Now, when I look at Elon Musk and the fact that he's standing in the Oval Office addressing the press, this boy from Pretoria, who is the grandson of a neo-Nazi, certified neo-Nazi. His father, Errol, confirmed himself and is also a member of the PayPal mafia. Rofel Botha, Peter Thiel, David Sachs, and Elon Musk, makes 4 of them, who are all of South African descent, who are part of the founders of PayPal, and are now said to, be involved in some sort of plan. We don't like conspiracies, but it's starting to unfold in a very predictable way, which is that we're seeing this apartheid renewal, resurfacing itself. We've seen what they're doing with South Africa and the direct attack. It's not covert, it's not diplomatic. And so for me, there's a very serious concern around that. And the fact that Elon Musk, I don't blame him for the way he's behaving. Let me tell you something about beneficiaries of apartheid. Yeah. They're used to being superior. They're used to privilege. Yes. They're used to always getting away, no accountability. And this is the culture that Elon Musk represents. So for me, this is very unfortunate. It really erodes his brilliance and his genius, because when it comes to tech, he is brilliant and he is genius. Yeah. But the fact that he has decided to carry the cross of the continuation of the apartheid legacy, for me, is just disgusting. And I know they're going to fall out very soon with Donald Trump. I hope it happens sooner rather than later.
Really? The drama is coming.
No, I'm not sure. They should enjoy the romance. I like Musk and Trump. In fact, some people are already saying that with Trump run for president, he can't run. He's not born on American soil. So with Musk run for president, he can't run. He's not born on America.
He probably wants South Africa.
He wants South Africa, and his AfriForum people,
They've disowned him.
They've disowned him?
Yes.
So soon? They're just starting. Julius Malema, when?